There's a lot to unpack in today's video, and I've gone back and forth between fusions. I do believe that the Snorri FR5 just might be the best legendary fusion in the game. It definitely makes the case, and I do view it as Aaron Till 2.0. I want to break down why I think that, and in the Crucible, it's just simply nuts. It is brutal, it's ridiculous. In PvE, it has the perfect combinations. And there's a ton of good fusions. I'm going to actually compare a lot today to Snorri. The Zur ingredient, likely suspect. We're going to find strengths and weaknesses and just talk about the overall range. And once again, I have to say, the fusions, they're in the best spot that they've ever been. New perks, new traits just pile on top, make them stand out even more. Snorri has multiple things going for it, but before I get into the deep dive, I do want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN. Surfshark encrypts your data, it keeps it safe, it hides your true IP address, it's extremely easy to use, and still, my favorite thing, it's the only privacy product that allows unlimited simultaneous devices. Most of them limit you, but not Surfshark. You can have it on your phone, your desktop, as many devices as you want. It works as an app or a browser extension and allows you to place your phone or laptop anywhere in the world. With something like HBO Max, it's not available in some countries, so when you change your location, it's going to open up to you. And for Netflix, there are about 15 different Netflix libraries out there to go out and explore. With changing your location to different areas, you can see what's playing around the world. And when it comes to gaming, you can game in full privacy and security. That includes the big ones like hiding your IP in Discord, other chats. Set up the VPN and not have to worry about it. And you can also prevent ISP throttling from your provider and actually get faster speeds than what they're trying to cap you at. Protection is key. Use my code CoolGuy to get 83% off plus 3 extra months free. There's a link down below right at the top of the description. And if for whatever reason you're unhappy, they do back a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to try it out for yourself. I really hope you guys get behind Surfshark as they've got behind me. It's a really good deal that they have for us. Where do we begin? Snorri is a void precision frame fusion. Competition is going to be main ingredient, timelines, vertex, trinary system, dreambreaker, heavy hitters. Snorri's the only void one though, and that plays a big part. It's an RNG world drop, and that's where things get kind of weird. While I do believe that it is the best adaptive, it isn't easily accessible. When you compare something like Zur's main ingredient, that's like in half the population's hands, you won't ever see this one take that over. It's a numbers thing. But these world drop weapons are very, very good. Cantata, Funnel Web, to name a few. But the total package of Snorri, compared to the other fusions, it really makes you think, especially the Tap the Trigger firmly planted Zur ingredient. Tap is decent now, but it can definitely be matched with mods and traits. The role that you're going to be seeing in all of today's PvP gameplay is extended barrel or corkscrew, liquid or projection fuse, firmly planted, successful warm-up. Guys, it's the real deal. Snorri has a large zoom built in at 1.7 times. The stats are great. It does have the lowest aim assist. Out of the precision frames, it's at 62, but the highest in class is the Deliverance with 67, so it's not too far off. But also know, the zoom factor and all the perks make it even less of an issue. In a previous video, I talked about likely suspect, this exact role, firmly planted and successful warm-up. Firmly planted gives plus 30 handling, plus 20 stability, around 40% accuracy cone size, 17% accuracy cone growth, with an 80 horizontal recoil correction. So it gets the base stability to 75, it gets the base handling to 73, while you're crouched. Successful warm-up, after a kill, the charge time speeds up, and it makes it almost shoot like a rapid fire frame. With successful warm-up on an adaptive, you're sending pure heat at your enemy. You feel unstoppable. It's an Omalon weapon, therefore it has the Omalon fluid dynamic trait. This weapon has increased reload speed and stability for the top half of the magazine. So in PvP, all it takes is one brick, load that in, you have the stability from that, firmly planted with stability and accuracy. After you land that final blow that's on a rope, you start shredding with successful warm-up. And I've had other players bring out Snorri because I kept downing them with mine, so they brought theirs out of the vault. And because I'm in successful warm-up, their fusion doesn't have the charge time. The base charge time can't beat it, especially at a distance versus something like a likely suspect. And remember, with successful warm-up, no damage is messed with. It does the same base damage, but at a much quicker charge rate. I estimate that the Omalon stability buff gives around 10 stability in the top half of that mag, possibly even more, because you can feel it on Omalon weapons, enough to feel a difference, like especially the Crucible Omalon hand cannon. Here's the breakdown. Omalon fluid dynamics is something that's going to be there for you at times. Not all the time, but it will be. And when you compare that to main ingredient, same type of role, but with Tap the Trigger. I do feel like Tap the Trigger can now be simulated. I do. It gives benefits, but it's a shell of its former self. They nerfed Tap the Trigger on fusions. It gives plus 10 stability, 12.5% max recoil kick compensation, so it's not going to kick up as far, and then a 2.5% accuracy cone size. So my issue, when you compare them, the plus 10 stability, again, fluid dynamics makes up for that one. And 2, where it's giving that 12.5% max recoil compensation, down pressure on the fusion negates that. Firmly planted negates that. You don't need it. You can shoot this thing like a sniper shot, just make it look like one continuous bullet. It's because of firmly planted. And then there's the accuracy help, right? That 2.5 degree cone size help. But if you put targeting on your helmet, that gives improved target acquisition, accuracy, and aim down sight speed. So that's helping aim assist, the cone size, and the aim down sight speed. And sure, yes, you could place that on top of a tap the triggers or ingredient, but with something like this, your trade-off is successful warm-up with firmly planted. The damage per bolt, the range, it's nuts. Follow-up shots at 20 meters and beyond like it's nothing. Nothing. And on this frame, after playing with it, I'm not trading successful warm-up for anything in the Crucible. Not high impact reserves, not tap the trigger, nothing. Those crazy deep shots with that charge time. It's the only one that can do it. The only one. So the frame, the zoom, keeps its damage at a far distance. The shots back to back to back with successful warm-up just to make sure it's incredible. I've also been running quick charge with high energy fire. So I get a kill with firmly planted, then I get a successful warm-up kill, get charged with light, so the next shot is either going to be within successful warm-up or another base firmly planted shot makes you do a 4 bolt, 20% more damage. And again, before I go on, breaking down the perks, it's RNG. A scenario that probably will come up at some point is going to be the gunsmith. When that happens, I'm going to let you know, so turn on notifications. I do post in the community tab when vendors bring cool things. So if he has that role, I'm going to let you know, and I do encourage you to try it. For the barrels, all of them work. Stats are juiced out of the gate. Arrowhead gets it to 100 recoil direction with a handling bump. Full bore works. Stability options work. Just pick what's the best for you. For the magazine, liquid, accelerated, particle repeater, or projection fuse. Like on mine, I use projection fuse for the +9 range going into successful warm-up. Liquid coils is great, but I like the little bit faster charge time without it. For the perks, node 1, firmly planted, stats for all, surplus, compulsive reloader, heating up, steady hands. And in this node, again, I value firmly planted first for the Crucible. Surplus and heating up are right behind it. If firmly planted ever gets hit on fusions and it gets hit really hard, those are going to be next man up. In node 2, frenzy, successful warm-up, wellspring, high impact reserves, reservoir burst, one for all. I value successful warm-up. We haven't seen anything like that on a fusion. It's a crazy perk for him, but high impact reserves, a lot of you are comfortable with that. It's tried and true. And then there's also a case for frenzy, 15% more damage while in combat. And when the Witch Queen dropped, the gunsmith did have a firmly planted frenzy roll. Maybe you grabbed it. And I would use firmly planted high impact reserves. I would use firmly planted wellspring even. Surplus wellspring, but that total package, we know what these adaptive frames are capable of. We've seen it. The full kit of having fluid dynamics, firmly planted, the comically fast successful warm-up shots. It's too good, way too good to me. My main fusion. But I don't want to get things twisted here. I want to get some things straight. These God Roll fusions, the Zur Ingredient, Snorri Timeline, Dreambreaker, Suspect, if you have a God Roll of them, I don't want to act like this thing's reinventing the wheel, because it's not. Truthfully, they're all going to perform. But the question is, how do you want them to perform? Likely Suspect, in that review I went over, it's the same roll but on a rapid fire. That one is more aggressive. Plain and simple. It's more up in your face, and it shuts a lot of things down. But the Snorri, it's a jack of all trades. Close, medium long, high base stats because it's a precision, high zoom for a fusion, total package. Depending on what you want, like for me, I do personally enjoy them both, Suspect and Snorri. When new weapons came out, especially with that Zur Ingredient being sold, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to see it to believe it. And these two really stick out because of the intrinsic traits, because of successful warm-up. This one's absolutely nuts. You've been seeing the gameplay. It has a proper base accurate shot, then you better be ready for follow-up shots if you're an enemy. It's at the mercy of RNG, but look for it. It's got everything going for it. Now, the one showcased today is the same one I would have wanted. Like looking at light.gg, D2 Gunsmith. I would have pieced it out pretty much the same way with firmly planted successful warm-up. I would have said that that is the top role to go for, and that's for me. It has a lot of benefit. It makes a case. So to me, it is the best legendary PvP fusion, and after playing, comparing, the sole reason for that is it simply does things no other fusion can. I've got a good set of Snorris so far. I've been kind of keeping them. And when you start getting into PvE, things stick out like stats for all, one for all, surplus wellspring. But an outlier is compulsive reloader, reservoir burst. And remember, the intrinsic states that you get increased reload speed at the top half of the mag. Then you throw on a fusion loader, it's over. It's very comparable to the other reservoir burst options. It depends on if you have that glacio with subsistence or slide with reservoir. But even then, this performs just as well. It's void. That means you can abuse the volatile rounds, just burst after burst. And no doubt, things like surplus frenzy, stats for all, one for all, they're going to do great. But compulsive with the trait, peanut butter and jelly, And remember, Reservoir Burst on its own has a damage buff. It deals 25% more damage on that shot, and then the enemies around explode after you get the kill. So just keep loading in 25% more damage. You can stack on other damage perks, like Phantom Might, more things. It's awesome. It's got everything. And I actually do like this more than Subsistence Glacio. And before that fusion, we always had to reload anyway. And what better way to reload than how Snorri is already set up at base. It's a perfect fusion all around. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about the Snorri FR5 down below. Let's compare it to other fusions. How does it end up for you? Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.